Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's see. I think I want to talk about multi-fuel engines today. Chances are, if you watch this channel on a regular basis, or even if this is your first time, you either have a truck with a multi-fuel engine or have had a truck with a multi-fuel engine. And if you have or have had a truck with a multi-fuel engine, then you probably have or will experience some of the common failures that they are plagued with. And I say plagued with because that's the best word for it. Um, they're famous for blowing head gaskets. They're also famous for slinging rods out the oil pan to the side of the block. Um, there's a few other things that happen to them. Some common, some not so common. So I want to see, maybe have a little discussion with you guys about things we could do to improve the engines and maybe stop these problems altogether, some of them. Um, it's a very old engine design. They don't make these engines anymore. It's getting very hard to find parts for them. So anything we can do to help alleviate these failures will keep these things on the road a lot longer. And not everybody has the time or the money to go out and do a full custom come and swap like I did on my truck. Some of you guys want to stick with the multi-fuel for different reasons, either the cost of them, of the swap, or just because you want the multi-fuel capability, you want to stick with that. You like the way it sounds, whatever the reason may be. Not every owner sees their truck as a candidate for a whole engine swap. Um, so the head gaskets. The head gaskets, they're getting hard to find too, the good ones anyway. But there are things we can do, and things that people have done to improve the head gasket blowing nature of these engines. Now they're a very high compression, like 22.5 to 1 compression on most models of your multi-fuel. I think the LD series, the non-turbo, had a little lower compression. But even then, they still blow head gaskets. So there's two ways that you can go about alleviating that, and it's best to do both of them together. And I'm not saying that you should go and do either one of these if you haven't already had a head gasket failure, or if you're not fixing it right now. But you can replace the head studs with ARPs, get a little better clamping force, or you can O-ring the block. Now I know, when you say O-ring the block, most people automatically think, well, you need a full engine tear down and you got to be rebuilding it when you do that, but that's not the case. As long as you have the heads off, you can actually groove the engine, the block, for an O-ring set yourself. There's a tool, and there are multiple tools that you can buy to do this yourself, but the most common one is made by Isky, and it's called the Groove-O-Matic. It's not super expensive. It's worth buying if you want to do this. And you just Google it, it'll come right up. There's a bunch of places that sell them. Grooving it yourself is not hard to do. There's videos all over YouTube on guys doing it to different diesel engines. The tool sets down in the cylinder bore and you rotate it and it cuts the groove. It's real simple. That's something that, if you don't have the engine fully torn down for a rebuild, if you're just doing the head gaskets and grooving it, you would want to plug your oil and coolant ports in the top of the block where you're working, so you don't get shavings down in there. The same with the cylinders. Put some towels down in the cylinders, and after you're done, make sure you vacuum it or blow it out with an air blower, get all the shavings out. You only need to cut a 30 thousandths deep groove for your O-ring, and you're going to use 41 thousandths steel wire. The O-ringing wire is not expensive. It's not a hard process to do. If you look up any video on YouTube about O-ringing a block, it's real simple. And it just gives you an immensely larger amount of clamping force around the fire ring and you don't have to get different head gaskets or anything. You can use the one piece or the two piece gaskets, the old ones, because the difference here in the holding the cylinder pressure is the application of that extra O-ring that puts more force on the fire ring itself. So if you do that, even just that by itself without upgraded ARP head studs, you will probably never blow a head gasket again, at least not in the time that you have the truck. It's just that these engines, being as high compression as they are, and running high RPM sometimes, not having a lot of clamping force with the head stud arrangement to begin with, they need something extra. Now, some guys have also just studded the block with ARPs and have not had problems after that for years and years. So you can do either one or both, and save yourself a lot of trouble in the future. The other thing, let's move on now to the crank. Now, the crank is a forged crank. These engines do not have a habit of breaking the crank, but it has happened. I've seen a few times, and that's mainly from the harmonic balancer either wearing out or the bolt backing off and it wobbling, and then the vibration breaks the crank. For that, it's just prevention. Check your harmonic balancer, inspect it every once in a while, make sure the rubber's not coming apart, make sure the bolt's not backing off. That's all there is to that. But the rods now, they generally, in my experience, sling rods for two reasons. One is they have poor quality fasteners. The rod bolts are just not that great, and they end up either breaking a rod bolt and then throwing a rod, or the rods were not torqued well enough when the engine was rebuilt, which they've almost all been rebuilt at this point, 20, 30 years, 40 years ago. In fact, chances are if you have any multi-fuel engine in any of your trucks, they've almost all been rebuilt, and it'll say it on the data tag on the engine. But you can replace those rod bolts with ARP rod bolts, and you will not have that issue again. Another reason they sling rods, well, there's actually two more reasons. One I experienced myself. The bottom of one of the cylinder liners actually broke off, and I think what happens a lot, and people don't realize it, is when a piece of that liner comes off at the bottom, the piston, when it's going back up, it catches that liner and jams the piston, and it just breaks the rod or the rod cap off, and windows the block. Now, there's not a lot you can do about that. I mean, if you drain your oil and you're starting to find little chunks, little pieces of metal, it's good to strain it, or at least check the bottom of your drain bucket after you're done. If you find any little pieces of iron, silver metal, whatever, that are, well, if you find any metal in the pan, it's not good, right? So, but if you find little chunks, then you know you have a liner that's starting to come apart. And if the engine's still running, then you can save it from windowing the block by stopping then and tearing it down and replacing whatever liner or liners are coming apart. The other thing you could do that would be really helpful to keep rods from coming apart is, and it would require a whole engine rebuild, or at least an in-frame, is when you pull the thing down, pull all your rods and pistons out, take your rods off all the pistons and balance them. You can balance them yourself. You don't have to balance the whole assembly, although that would be ideal if you take the crank and the pistons and the rods all to some shop and have them professionally balance it. That would be the best thing you can do. But if you are just doing an in-frame or something, take all your rods off and use a nice, like a kitchen scale or something, and you can find your lightest one, find your lightest rod of all 6, and then grind the others to match the same weight. Now, it's not perfect, but every little bit helps. You can also do the same thing with the pistons. Grind the pistons in certain places, and watch some videos on balancing engine parts, and it's really simple. You'll see, like, it's easy to learn where you want to take off material for balancing. On the rods, it's much simpler than it is on pistons, but you know, it is what it is. So balancing, better studs, or bolts, rod bolts, whichever. Two things you can do to really help not throw a rod later on. Another thing is developing blow-by. These engines, a lot of them will develop a lot of blow-by in a very short time, and I think a lot of us in this community probably haven't figured out why yet, but I think I know. And I haven't confirmed this, but my opinion is that working at a government job like this, I see how things are maintenanced and rebuilt and stuff like that. And my opinion is that when these engines were overhauled, they got 6 new cylinders, or six new liners and piston sets, right? And they just throw them in. They don't bother to take the time to properly gap the rings. And when the engine gets hot, especially hotter than it should be, like if you're pulling a grade or something, maybe you're not exceeding the EGT that's safe, but it still gets the rings hotter than you would like. And if the ring gap is not sufficient, then the ring ends end up touching. And I know for a fact that a lot of guys end up finding broken rings in these, and that is the number one cause of broken rings, is insufficient ring gap. Also, even if the rings don't break, when those ring ends touch and it still wants to expand because it's still heating up, it's putting excess pressure on the cylinder walls. That wears out the liner and the rings a lot faster. So whether the ring breaks or not, you develop blow-by from wear, scoring, etc., because somebody years and years ago didn't take the time to gap the rings. It's also the fact that the compression rings, are cast iron. Now, we have a lot better ring technology than that these days, and my thoughts on alleviating this blow-by is that, I mean, as long as you've got the heads off, say you're doing head gaskets or something, pop your pistons out, and I would get a set of rings from Total Seal, newer, better quality rings. It's a 4.56 inch bore, 4.5 inch bore, and I've already looked it up a few minutes ago. Total Seal has a bunch of diesel ring options for 4.5 inch bores. Some are cast iron, some are not. I would get something better, better material than cast iron. Why go back with the same thing? Even if you do replace it with just regular rings, like say surplus rings, if you take the time to gap them yourself and gap them properly, then it's probably not going to have that issue, right? And I think it'd be probably 35 thousandths ring gap for that. I'd have to actually sit down and do the math. But gapping rings is not hard. If you've got a file or even a little $20-$30 ring grinder off of Amazon, whatever. There are other issues that you can't really do anything about. Like sometimes they break camshafts. Not much you can do about that because it seems random. The water necks up top where they go into both the heads, those little manifolds, they like to leak. Not much you can do about that except proper maintenance. Replace the gaskets when they leak, the hoses, whatnot. Also, there's some guys now that are doing turbo swaps to HX40s and HX40Ws, and they're seeing a lot of improvement in fuel economy and power and EGT. That is not a bad idea, considering that turbo technology has come a very, very long way since the 50s and 60s. No reason not to if you've got the time and the money to buy one. Don't put a damn Chinese turbo off of eBay on it, because it will blow up and put metal into your engine. I mean, if you're trying to keep your engine alive, the last thing you want to do is put $100 turbo on it and then let it grenade itself into your cylinders. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to take the time, spend the money to do a turbo swap, which is probably one of the best things you can do at this point for your engine, do it right. Don't put Chinesium on there. And be careful if you're trying to buy a turbo like that off of Amazon or eBay, because the Chinese sellers are even putting original knockoff plates, data plates, and stuff on their turbos and injection pumps. So buy from a reputable seller, maybe. Not really a lot you can do about the problems related with the injection pump. It's just kind of, if you have a multi-fuel, you're going to experience a hydraulic head bow tie issue or button and clip issue at some point. There are people in the past that have done pump swaps, but there's a lot more to that than just throwing it on. You've got to make adapters to mount the pump to the engine, and you've got to adapt the gear and things like that. So that is not just a simple, 1 or 2 hour thing. I'm not saying it can't be done. Obviously, it has been done. You could even swap a Bosch P7100 P pump on there if you wanted to, but that's not a quick and easy, down and dirty thing. And that's the Bosch, the original injection pump is not that problematic. If you let them sit a long time, they gum up, then you're going to have issues. But for the most part, they're a pretty good pump. Injectors really are not an issue. I don't know. Oiling system is pretty good. They don't tend to overheat all the time for no reason. That's generally only if you have something seriously wrong with your cooling system or blown head gasket. I don't know. I can't really think of anything else that would need to be addressed. Yeah. Anyway, just kind of wanted to put those thoughts out there. It's been rolling around in my head for a little while, and it's best to get it up on video and have a discussion with you guys. I'm sure some of you guys may have other ideas, better ideas, or other thoughts, and hey, I'd like to hear them. So appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, and hopefully this helps some of you. See you later.